Welcome to B&B Farms' very first Q&A. So we're going to go over some of the most commonly asked questions that we get from various people around and find out what the answers are.
Kind of tend to get the same questions over and over again a lot.
Yes, we do.
Somebody will find out that you make maple syrup, and then you're answering those same questions again and again. So yeah, let's see what we got here. What we hear the most of. Okay. When do you tap? Yeah, that's pretty common.
That's a very tricky question too, because there's no simple answer to that. That would be wonderful if we knew that, hey, you're going to tap on February 6th on a Tuesday or something. Most of the time, it's all done by the weather. So whatever the weather gives us determines when we tap.
Yeah, we are looking for a stretch of days, actually, where the nighttime temperatures get to 25 or in that area, and daytime temperatures, we like to see, what would you say, 40 degrees?
Probably
or maybe
40.
A little warmer?
Yeah.
And one day at that is not worth tapping in. You want to see a stretch of time that you're going to have those temperatures, 4 or 5 days, and that will get the sap running.
Yep.
Can you reuse the same holes next year? No, you do not. The tree will heal up the tap holes from year to year, and you drill a new hole each year. But yeah, I can see where you would think like, well, just leave the tap in it, and come back when the sap starts running again, and just you'll be ready to go.
And unfortunately, they're not quite like spigots for your faucet where you can just turn them on or off at the end of the season. They heal and encapsulate that area, and then it is no longer able to have any sap flow through it. So the next year you have to come and move that and into a fresh spot that isn't encapsulated. That way you'll have the sap flowing.
Yeah, and that's right, and that's a good point, because that area where we've tapped will never give sap again. The tree, like Becky said, compartmentalizes that off, and it will never provide sap again. I hear the mascot has wandered into the room. Thanks, Toro. Do the lines stay up all year long? Well, that's kind of an individual preference. In our case,
yes.
Yeah, they do. Which means that, through the summer you have some storms or whatever, you're going to have some line damage. That line is put up, and animals are going to be chewing on it. Limbs are going to be falling on it. So, yeah, I mean, there's good and bad. Taking the whole line down, to me, seems like a terrible prospect.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get it back next year in kind of the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Or the drops that you have cut into it
Aren't going to match up.
They won't match the tree.
Yeah.
So yeah, we leave our lines up all year long.
And you can have miles of lines out in the woods. So winding up miles of line every year is just almost too daunting to think about.
Yeah, it is. And then where would you store it? It'd be like an octopus. I mean, you'd have to get that thing out and unwind it. And no, I think we're doing okay just leaving ours up year round.
But we do sterilize the lines.
Correct.
You clean them before you start, and then you'll let the sap run for a little bit to make sure everything's cleared out and flowing nice. And that way you're collecting clean sap.
Yep. How much sap does it take to make maple syrup? Well, that's probably one of the most common questions that we get. You'll go ahead. What are you thinking there?
Well, most people, hear the 40 to 1 when you're talking, but that's really good high sugar sap. And that really depends on how much sugar is in your sap.
Correct. Yep. And it can vary from year to year or from tree to tree, even trees 10 feet away. It varies. Typically ours runs about 1.5%. I mean, you can pretty much count that we're going to have 1.5% sugar content, which for us, the math works out to 58 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup.
I always tell people to visualize a 55-gallon drum. And if you can collect that much sap, you can make 1 gallon of syrup.
Yep.
So it's a good visualization.
Yeah, a lot of boiling involved there.
Yes.
Yeah. Does it hurt the tree to tap it? Well, it could, I guess. If you don't practice or don't use good tapping practices, you could hurt the tree. If you do it correctly, no. If you tap 1.5 2 inches deep and you move around the tree each year, placing your tap holes in a specific pattern so that you don't get too close together, no. There are generations of farm families that have tapped the very same maple tree through the years, and the trees, it's doing fine.
Doing fine.
Yeah, and it will heal over, and it kind of, we always say it looks kind of like a belly button.
Yeah.
When it heals over in the tree, and over time, new wood will form and encapsulate that old tap hole, and years down the road, you may tap in the same spot that now that old tap hole is towards the middle of the tree. It's been buried, and you're tapping in that wood, that fresh wood, and you're getting sap again there.
Yeah.
So no, it does not hurt the tree. How many taps do you put in a tree?
Depends on the size of the tree.
Yes, it does. We typically use one. We don't really. We have put 2 in when we would hang buckets.
Yeah, with the very large trees.
But it seems like if you're gonna get 2 gallons from a tree and it fills a 2-gallon sap bucket, we kind of notice that if you put 2 buckets in it, you're gonna get a gallon in each bucket. So I mean, for us, it wasn't a pain proposition. Now, if you go by what science tells you, there's usually a rule of thumb as per the size of the tree. If the tree is 20 inches or greater in diameter, you can put 2 taps in it. You don't want to tap anything smaller than 8 inches in diameter. So anything in that range, we're going to put 1 tap in it. You guys that are putting more than 1 tap in your tree, yeah, you can do that. You absolutely can. And it won't hurt the tree if the tree's big enough.
Yep.
How long does the tubing last? Well, it kind of depends on the composition of the tubing. Our particular tubing, the brand we use, supposedly is good for 7 to 10 years. We have some approaching 7 years old, so we're looking down the road and we're thinking like, that run's going to have to be swapped out and changed. You'll know when it gets time because it'll get brittle, and you'll go to press new fittings in year to year and it'll split. And that's a pretty good
we did
indication.
notice a little bit of that on one of ours where it split
Yep.
at a junction, and we had some leaking and had to chase it down.
Sure did.
So we will probably be changing out some of those lines here next year.
Yep, I'd say you're right. How much sap does the tree give? Again, pretty variable.
Yes, from tree to tree. We've had some trees we think, oh, this is a fantastic tree, big crown, really good, and tap it and it gives nothing.
Yeah, it's very, very disappointing because you're looking at it and thinking like, this is the most massive maple tree we have. This it's going to give a 55-gallon drum of sap, and you'll put a tap in it and nothing.
And nothing.
Yeah.
And then you have a poor little tree that looks skinny and scrawny and has scuff marks all over it, and you put a bucket and it just gushes out of it.
Yeah. Rule of thumb, I know that's what you guys are probably looking for. If you're hanging a bucket, you can expect maybe a good year, maybe 10 gallons of sap from that tree. And that's just dripping into a bucket.
Yeah.
If you run vacuum, you can get more.
Yeah.
So I guess that's about it.
Yep. If you have any more questions that you want to ask us, if you can think of anything that you want to know, just drop us a comment and we'll see if we can do another one of these and have some more comments and questions and hopefully answers for you.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, depending on what platform you're watching this on. We'd appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.